Hey everyone, it is Larry here at LC Model Shipbuilding, and in this video we're going to be doing our wiring, a lot of our wiring anyway, and our motor setting in the hull. I didn't get the motor mounts yet, so they're on their way, but can't get that part done. I don't get the servo installed yet, but we get a lot of the lighting installed. We do 2 float tests in this, and I'm also using Alex's skeleton kit for the interior hull, which strengthens it up quite a bit, and also it really compartmentalizes the hull and makes it a lot easier to work with as we're going through the build. And it's also pretty good about being able to separate wires and just a lot of other things. So you'll see that in the first half of the video, then we start to move into some of the electronics. So thank you very much for watching, and let's get started. Okay, so here we go. What we're going to start with is, this is Andrew's inner hull ribbing kit. And what we need to do, the hull is too wide right now. It needs to get drawn in tighter. So what I want to do is actually use his kit to basically help secure and draw this in as I tighten it up, and it'll give some rigidity to the actual structure. So it'll be good to have this, and I got the clear version, that way it doesn't mess with any of the lighting or anything like that. So we're going to work on putting this together. I'll film what I can of it. There's quite a few pieces to it, but really it's just a skeleton that kind of goes together like I was just showing right there. And then there's rib connectors here and all kinds of pieces. And then there's a top piece that goes across the top right here. So I'm going to work on putting that together, and then we'll get that in. And I'm only going to go so far back because we have the motors and all the electronics that are going to need to go in there as well. So over here we have our controller, we have our receiver, which is with the controller somewhere here, bunch of wiring, bunch of couplers. This is going to be our on-off switch, which will basically power everything on and off. Whole bunch of connectors here. This is our smoke generator right here, and then we have a fuse panel right here. And this is one of the battery packs, or one of the 2 sets of battery packs right here, and then we have our motors and fans right in here. So we're going to put the motors in, obviously, get everything kind of wired up, and we're going to see how this works out. So this video might be a little bit different than my normal videos, but yeah, we're going to kind of see how it goes. So first thing I'm going to do is work on building that skeletal system to see how it needs to go. There's our prop shafts, as you can see right there. These are the mounting points that are JB welded in. And there's our stern, and that turns, as you can see. So yeah, let's get started, and I'm going to go ahead and work on putting the ribbing together, and then I'll show more video as we go. Okay, so how this works. There is a front section right here. I didn't explain it exactly right when I started here, because I'm looking at the directions from the Facebook page, which are slightly different than this, because I have the clear ones that are for LED light emitting. But anyway, you have your front bow piece, which will be the same on the stern, and they connect with the screws, and he provides the screws, so they're right here, and then there's the longer ones, and then you have your longer, or your wider piece, your rib, basically, that goes right here. So you progressively just work from smallest, a little bit bigger, and then you simply run your screws on both sides of the bulkhead. I mean, it's not really a bulkhead. Well, it could be called a bulkhead, I guess you'd say. But what I really like about this too, more than anything, one, it's going to help bring the hull together a little bit better, but two, I can use this actually to help with weight distribution, and I can also use it to run wiring through, because these holes that are in the bulkhead there will help to separate anything that I'm trying to separate wire-wise or anything like that. So this is going to be multi-useful, I do believe, and it's really nicely made. I like it. He did a nice job with this. I will have a link to this in the description. But what we're going to do, I'm going to put it together probably to just around midship, somewhere in that neighborhood. And I actually might go further, because I think I can work my motors around this. I might end up finishing out the whole entire thing and then actually trying to put the motors in around this and on this, because what I'm looking at for some of this stuff, rather than mounting directly to the hull, like the fuse box, I could come right in here on one of these and simply attach it right to the bulkhead like that, and that would actually be ideal. I'd still have nice access to that. My wires could run right through there. Obviously this is right in the bow, so that's not where it's going, but I'm just kind of showing that as an example. So I may just go ahead and finish this all the way out and run it the whole way down, and then yeah, like I said, kind of work around it. And then any section that I don't necessarily need, I can simply take it apart and not use it. So they are numbered, and they, like I said, kind of progressively get bigger. So here we can kind of see how this goes together. So they have teeth that come into each side, and you just slide it in, and then you run your screw down in, and that is literally it. So makes it super simple. The only question I have now is then how the top here attaches, so I'm gonna have to look at that, and I have a bad feeling that I'm going to have to disconnect all of these. Yes, I am. So that's exciting, but that's okay. So don't put that in until you're ready to put the top on, although I don't think the top goes in right away. My kid is looking at me right now like I'm nuts, thinking I'm talking to myself. Okay, so that section doesn't go in until where I'm at anyhow, so this will work out fine, what I've already screwed in. So I don't have to unscrew any of these, but from here out, now I need to put the top section on. So the bottom does the exact same thing, goes in like that, and then we just screw it in. Come on. There we go. One on each side of the bulkhead, and then we'll grab the top panel there and put that on before we move on to the next portion. So I'm gonna go ahead and screw these down, and I'll continue putting this together, and I'll be back. Okay, so here we go. I got it pretty much assembled all the way back. Sorry, I was trying to move the camera at the same time. So you can see I'm all the way up to the bow here, and then I come all the way back. Now, down here, I ended up cutting away the lower section so that I clear the motors, but I still have some flat spaces that I'll be able to mount some things like the fans for the motors and stuff like that. And back here, I have the servo attachment. So I'm going to end up attaching a piece of metal that will go from here over to the servo. The servo will end up probably somewhere right around here, and that will have another attachment very similar right here that will then make that move back and forth for the rudder. So I'm going to work on getting that attached. I'm going to get the top panel that goes on here secured down, and then we'll be back. Okay, so a little update to where we're at. I got the first coupler on here. Now I did have to drill them out a little bit, and I ordered another set just in case. So I'm gonna get these mounted. I gotta make a motor mount basically to hold that in place. My ESCs are down here. I gotta put a piece of styrene across the bottom there, and then they'll get glued on. This is where my charger is going to go at this point. So it's going to be a 4-way parallel charger that will charge the 2 batteries that are going to be right here, and they will get secured down with a piece of styrene. I'll drill 2 holes through it and then have a zip tie that goes around it, so it's not permanent, but it is accessible. This then is my fuse box, which will not do anything with the motors. This will control the lights, the sound card, and the smoking unit. So that's that. So what's essentially going to happen, 3 of these batteries are going to wire into the motors over here. One of the batteries that will be left over will then be wired into the fuse panel. Then from the fuse panel, I'll have the individual circuits that will break off. So to get into the lighting, this will then ride above the battery compartment here, and I gotta put the styrene in, which I haven't done for any of this yet, so I'm getting ready to do that here shortly. And then this will have all of the wiring that then will connect here to the decks. So that basically is how that's all going to work in a nutshell. So hopefully that's clear. Oh, and I got the D-deck reception area glued in. So there's that. Okay, so now that I pretty much have everything test set, I'm waiting on a wireless on-off switch that will attach to this. But now you can see we got lights in the upper decks here. I don't have all the wiring done on the boat deck, but that's okay. I have some lighting down here. I think I'm going to go with a brighter light or reduce the resistor that I have on them. It just does not shine bright at all at night. So we're going to fix that. But what I want to do now, being that we have a good portion of the weight in here, I'm going to go ahead and put the deck down, and I want to run down to the lake, and I'm going to do some weighting with it. So we'll kind of do a float test and see where we're at, because I'd probably say that 90% of the weight is in this at this point, and it is getting quite heavy. So I'll get it packed up and we'll head down to the lake, and then I'll do some filming down there. Okay, so here we are out at my lake. This is behind my house, within walking distance actually, which is pretty awesome. And down on the far end down there, it actually kind of goes around a little bit too. So this is a little over 10-acre lake, which should give me plenty of sailing room. Kind of cool. There's an old historic boathouse down here that's like over 100 years old, and that's pretty sweet. And then there's a beach right over in there. I don't even know if you can see it, but that will definitely be a pretty cool place to run this. So pretty excited. But we're gonna go ahead and get this into the water and see how we're looking. Okay, so I have no idea what this is actually going to require for weighting. So I ended up ordering, I think, 13 pounds worth of weights basically. So I got 1 pound blocks and half-pound blocks here, and basically I can just kind of put them in to see where we're not top heavy. So I'm going to put it in the water quick off camera, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we got the weight about right. It's pretty much at waterline now where I want it. However, it is still fairly top heavy. If I let go, this will topple over. I'm going to try to do some arranging of the weights a little bit, But the other thing I'm running into is I don't have all the portholes finished being sealed yet, so I am bringing in a little bit of water as waves come up on it and get above those portholes. So obviously a little bit more work to do on that end, but I do at least know where the weight is, and I'm thinking what I'm probably going to have to do is kind of follow Model Boat Guy's lead and do the underwater magnetic bilge keel. So I'm going to be looking for one of them, and yeah, I mean, all in all, we're floating, not an issue. It just, like I said, if I let go of it, it will quickly capsize, so don't want that. More experimenting to be done. Okay, so here we are back in the dry dock. So a couple things learned, obviously. The weight is a real factor, and this is still going to go up a little bit, but like I said, I probably put about 3 pounds of weight into it, and it's definitely going to need a bilge keel, or not a bilge keel, I keep saying that, but a keel on the bottom to kind of balance it. So I'm going to shop around for that now, and also probably reach out to Robbie over at Model Boat Guy and see what he actually used. But next up is going to be doing some rewiring of lighting in the hull. I want to get brighter lights down there, and I'll come back once we're done. Okay, so we obviously, like I said earlier in the video, we have to make a keel. So I went ahead and 3D printed this keel structure. It actually has a hole for a piece of all thread to go down in. I'm gonna get this cleaned up and then taking off the sprues, and we're gonna basically assemble this and melt some lead and some other fun stuff. Okay, so what we're using here to melt our lead is an old camp stove. So we're just going to light this up, and we did an experiment with it the first time. Didn't quite turn out. The molding process wasn't real great, but we're going to just remelt that piece of lead and give it a try again. So I'm using an old, or not an old, but I'm using a cheap pot that I got at Walmart, so nothing major there. And then for our mold, it is basically just drywall, and then I have it coated with aluminum foil. So the aluminum foil won't stick to it, and basically it will melt and then sit in here and harden up. So that's the plan. Okay, we're just about melted here, and then we're going to go ahead and pour this into our mold. If you do this, obviously do it outside. Make sure you're not breathing in the gas, basically, that's created from this. But there we go. Okay, so then we're just going to pour this in.
There's a bunch right there, Dad.
Okay. And now we let it sit. Okay, so we have cooled. Still kind of hot, so I don't really want to touch it, but that works, and this will give me basically the weight that I need for the bottom of our keel now. And what we're going to do is drill through the center of it to attach the keel. But I'm going to go ahead and get this unwrapped, and then we'll drill the hole. And so essentially, this is what this is going to be. So I got the keel on here. It passes all the way through, down in. I'm going to cut this down, and I used a piece of all thread basically for that. And then on the inside, we're going to have this, and it will be capped off with this nut, basically to stop it from being able to be threaded any farther in. And I'll drill a hole through the bottom of the hull, and then I will have the rubber washers here, and it will be basically epoxied to the bottom of the hull. So that way you can basically just take, if this is the bottom of the hull, that will be there and open, and then you just turn this, and it will bolt right into the hull. And this will be our keel. And the weight on this will definitely help to stabilize the ship. So this is going to go just below funnel number 1. And I know it's not the prettiest thing to look at, but I'm going to paint it like a dark green, maybe even brown kind of color of what lake water typically is around me anyway. And hopefully it's not really even noticeable. So that is the keel. We'll do a test on it once I get everything kind of squared away with it. Okay, so here we are now with the keel, and I shortened the rod. I got a bolt on this side, bolt on that side. I had to make a little patch here, but since I don't really have to worry about this being watertight, I'm not really too worried about it. But there was a little hole that was in there from when I was taking it off the sprue. Got to sand that a little bit. I'll clean that up just a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and paint this, like I said, a dark green or brown. The good thing is, even if I misweighed on this, I can do one of two things. If I need additional weight, I can either recast, or I could even just zip tie or bolt on additional weights on both pieces here. But I know it's going to be in that, on both sides, I mean. I know it's going to be in that probably 2.5 pound range. So this should be close to what I need. So, yeah, we're moving right along. So I'm going to go ahead and paint this. What I'm going to have to do in the hull, on those supports that go across here, I'm going to have to drill in the center of one. And I'm thinking, because I needed to weight down the bow section, that this is going to be right around funnel number 1 or in between funnel 1 and 2. So I'm going to drill the hole in there, basically, and the coupler there will pass in between it. So I'm going to drill a hole big enough to make that piece pass through, and then I'm going to seal it down onto the hull. And I got a rubber washer, followed by a nylon, followed by another rubber, and that is going to essentially sit right under the coupler. So I'm taking that off right now so I can kind of show what I'm talking about, because it will be easier outside of the ship than it will be inside. So essentially, this is what you would end up seeing on the inside of the hull bottom. And then this is set so that when I screw in up here, it'll stop and basically steady it where I need it to be. So that's basically how this keel is going to work. Okay, so here we are with our green keel. You can see here it will hopefully blend into the water pretty good, and should just kind of screw in here onto the bottom of the hull. You can see I have the rubber washers on there, like I was saying, and the inside is basically built just like I had planned to. So I'm going to get this screwed in. A little hard to do it on one hand here, because I am actually holding the camera as I do this, but I'll get it screwed in and then head down to the lake and we'll do a float test. Okay, so here we are down at the lake again, and we are floating on our own. Now, she does have a tiny bit of a port list. Once I bring it back in, I just want to check if it's actually leaking anything, or if it's just how I have it weighted. But even if so, I will be able to weight it down pretty well. And she's actually pretty stable for the most part. So I do think I'm going to need a little bit more weight over on this side. But yeah, I'm going to say success. So that's exciting. Okay, so here we are back. I don't know if I mentioned it, I'm replacing these strip lights with yellow lights. They're not here yet, but it does appear we got a little bit of water in, but it's not looking like it came from around the section here. Maybe it did, I don't know. I'm gonna fill it with a little bit of what do you call it, like some grate stuff or something like that, to kind of get in there around the cracks, or not the cracks, but underneath here, where it's really hard to get the JB Weld marine in. So I'm gonna say, all in all, success. We're just gonna have to wait a little bit on the starboard side. I think it was starboard side it was listing. I'll have to go back and look at the video, but all in all, pretty successful. I do still have to do a lot of the portholes. I did start them, but I'm not near done yet, because there's a lot of them. But you know, all in all, I'm pretty happy. And yeah, I guess we're gonna pretty much wrap up this video, because The next portion of it is going to be getting into the motor mounts and the couplers back here, and then the servo for the rudder. So I'm going to handle that in another video. I'm going to finish up doing some of the wiring cleanup in here. Won't really be able to shorten these, but I can probably make them so that they're going to be a little bit better when I'm putting it in and out. But yeah, that's going to wrap up this video. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this helps somebody out there. And we'll see you next time here on LC Model Shipbuilding.